Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aging Games podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about breast implants, breast implant illness, removal of breast implants, changing breast implants. And I have my beautiful guest, Dr. Sande from Beyond Brain Health on Instagram and on all the different platforms. And she's one of my favorite guests. So I had to have her back for the second time. Last time we talked about anesthesia and what it does to your brain and what it does to your health. And it was an amazing conversation. You guys need to check out that episode if you haven't seen it yet. Dr. Sande, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me back. I love coming to talk about all the things health and brain health, and it's just my joy. I enjoy it. So thanks for having me back on.
I just love having conversations with you. I can have you on every episode and just talk to you forever because we always have stuff to talk about. But last time at the end of the podcast that we recorded together, we also did a live together on Instagram because we realized that we both fell into the trap of getting breast implants.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And we both kind of went through hell with them and eventually got them removed. So we are here today to share our stories with the audience, our cautionary tale, and tell people what can go wrong, why they shouldn't get breast implants. So let's start with your story, Sande.
Yeah. Well, the main thing that I want to make sure people hear from this is that, first of all, if you have them, don't feel judged. You're not judged. Nobody's judging you. I've had them. And there's a lot of psychology behind why you get them. There's a lot of psychology behind why I got them. So nobody's judging you if you have breast implants. But really, my whole mission in my business is to change the face of brain health and build neuroresilience, and teach people how to do that in everyday modern life, which is full of exposures that damage our brain resilience. Breast implants just being one of them. For sure, in my case, I could absolutely tell that my brain was different when my breast implants got really, when I really started experiencing breast implant illness. Now, I think I had subtle signs of it earlier, like autoimmune signs of issues that I just disregarded. But when it came to my brain, oh my goodness, that was just a huge piece of my story. So, for me, I got breast implants after my second child was born because I wasn't very large breasted to start with, but then I was the classic no-breasted girl, like the tall, thin, no-breasted girl and they were so flat, they pointed down. I felt like I belonged in one of those magazines where they're checking, doing the pictures of those African tribes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, this is embarrassing. And I was young. I was 25 or something. National Geographic, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have got them either at the time, but I was newly graduated from PA school, was practicing medicine. One of my best friends was in plastic surgery, and she was like, "Oh, we can get you a really good deal on this." And so literally it was really inexpensive for me to get the implants. And so I flew up to Virginia, I got my breast implants, and I felt like feminine for once. I felt really comfortable in my body, for the first time ever, because I'd always had small breasts, right?
How big did you go?
CD, I guess. I was like an A.
Well, what about 300, 400 cc's?
Yeah, that's about right. And they were silicone. It was very large for me. It was a big difference. But I didn't feel much different. I used to run marathons, so I ran marathons. I think I ran 2 marathons with those breast implants in. Did fine, but I did have some of these subtle, autoimmune things come back that I had seemed to have under control for a while. That started to flare, and that is part of the breast implant illness picture. How much, I had the genetic, or I had the vulnerability already. So to be really honest, I think it just sort of was more of an activator for the trigger that I already had. But fast forward around, the breast implants were in around 15 years when I had my last baby. And I seriously think that my implants were starting to were ruptured already at that point, because she had some interesting issues. She had some issues with bilirubin. Her liver was stressed. She didn't make normal stools. I nursed her, and she would prefer one breast over the other, and the one that she didn't like was the one that was ruptured, which was really funny. So I think that like I actually was releasing silicone through that breast tissue, and she didn't want it, but she still got it. So I feel kind of guilty about that. I'm working on restoring her liver health and everything now. She's 10 years old, still working on that. But fast forward a few more years, and at that time I had really bad postpartum. That was a really severe case of like fatigue and the blues. It was weird. It was different than the last few. But fast forward a few more years, and I mean, like I started to hit perimenopause, and I started being super anxious. The brain fog was getting really bad. I moved in the middle of that, and it was COVID. And I don't know if it's a magic combination of COVID and the stress of that, the isolation of that, moving, but I lost a year. Like I literally do not remember details from my life for that last year. And it was during that time I was working on my PhD in natural medicine. And so I was learning things, and I went to a conference where this other PA was talking about breast implant illness. It's the first time I heard it. And she described it, and I was like, that's me. That is me. I started packing on pounds. My inflammation was high. I was puffy. It was just, she was describing me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I chased her down afterwards, and we became friends and started chatting. She's like, you've got to get those things out. And I was putting it off. I had the same, I've heard it before. I hear it from plenty of people. Like, it costs so much money. I don't have the money to go to surgery and elective surgery to get this out, and I don't want to get rid of my breasts. So I was like kind of pussyfooting around it until I met her and heard that conference. And she's like, no, you got to get it out now. Like you need them out. Like you're already circling. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. So I took out a loan. And I found a guy here in Colorado who was very capable with like en bloc procedure, where they take the whole capsule out and the whole everything.
Why is that important?
So super important because the capsule can contain a whole lot of that silicone residue that leaks from the breast implants. There's passive leak. It doesn't have to be ruptured. The capsule itself, the actual implant whether it's a silicone or saline, you got to have a silicone capsule. Yeah. That capsule will leak silicone passively into your tissues from day one. And so then the body creates a biological capsule around that, and that tissue is like a scar tissue. Yeah. And that tissue will hold a lot of that silicone, and that's also the tissue that will often develop breast-associated lymphoma. There's a cancer associated with the breast implant. It'll be found inside that tissue. It'll start there. Wow. So you want to make sure you get that out all together, first of all, for that reason, and second of all, because if they don't actually take the breast implant out and they just go after the implant itself, sometimes like mine was ruptured. So they would have grabbed a ruptured implant and just been scooping out, hoping they got all the silicone, right? So that's number 2 reason why you don't do it. So you want to make sure you get somebody who takes out the whole capsule, called en bloc resection of your capsule. And so I had that done. And I tell you, of course, now in the space I had been studying brain health. Now it was just the classic, right? I have brain health issues, and I'm studying brain health and working with people with brain health issues, and I myself am literally struggling. There was passion behind why I was focused on brain health, because I knew I had issues with my brain, and I knew at 40 or 42 at the time that if I had brain health issues now, I know the brain changes that cause dementia happened 20 years before dementia, and I knew I was going to have it if I didn't do something. Like, I just knew it. Like, this is terrifying. So, I was studying all this, and of course I was starting to think about anesthesia and how it impacts the brain, and that was starting to be something I was mulling around in my head. This was a couple of years ago, right? So I was like, I don't want to undergo anesthesia to get this. All these things that I didn't want to have to. But I did it anyway. I prepped my body as much as I could in the case of an inflammatory circumstance, right? I'm already inflamed. I've already got detox problems because of the implants. I'm doing the best I can to detox, but I can't get in the sauna because I got implants. I can only do the best I can to do, like optimize my food, optimize my sleep. Why can you not
go into sauna with implants?
This is a great question. So if you Google it, you'll get, there's no really research on this, but really what's true is that the implants have never been studied in temperatures, even in your body temperature. They've never been studied to show that they don't leak silicone even in normal body temperature at 96 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever that is in Celsius.
About 36 in Celsius.
Yeah, so it's never been studied,
Wow.
much less raising it above human body temperature, which, if you're doing infrared, you're at 130, 132, 140. If you're doing standard sauna, you're up at 180. And all you got to do is take some silicone and put it in the pan. You have a silicone spatula, put it in your pan for a minute at 100 degrees and see what happens. It's not rocket science. So of course it's going to leak and it's going to become more molecularized and easy to pass into tissues and into your lymphatics and spread. So I actually didn't know that, and I got in the sauna before learning that, before meeting my friend in the conference. And my husband, we did this 1 month sauna protocol. He lost 10 pounds. I found his 10 pounds. I gained 10 pounds getting in the sauna because I got so inflamed. I caused so much leak. I created such a cortisol surge in me that it made my situation worse, not better. So, yeah, I highly recommend people avoid sauna if they're wearing breast or have breast implants. So anyway, I walked into anesthesia and surgery with a very full understanding of what I was getting into, but I knew I had to have it done. Mm-hmm. And of course I had my post-anesthesia protocols already in place for recovery and all that jazz. But when I woke up, even though I was sedated, my brain was firing different. I could feel the difference. I was like they were moving, like there was transmission. I don't know how else to describe it. I was still sleepy from the meds, but I was like, I can think. Like I can make a coherent thought inside my head. That was the difference of getting my breast implants out. It was dramatic. And then slowly my personality came back. I was less irritable. I mean, just all the things. My weight started to come down, like my hair stopped falling out. I mean, all those things. It was pretty dramatic.
You had like all the classic signs of breast implant illness.
Mm-hmm. It was bad. It didn't happen overnight, but I did have major changes in my health. My skin improved, my periods improved, hot flashes improved, like all of that.
Was your husband supportive when you decided to remove them?
Yes, he was very supportive. He was like, I just want my wife
really
healthy and happy.
A lot of women there, like their husbands will not let them get it removed.
What?
Yeah, I'm in a lot of these groups and everything, and I mean, I see the story.
Wow.
It's just so crazy.
That's
they'll do
wild.
it for a person and then they're kind of stuck with it, and it's just your health should come first before anyone.
100%. I was at a breast implant illness conference lecture series, and I was interviewed there about the anesthesia stuff. But one of the doctors, there was a round table of husbands talking at this conference, which I thought was really cool opportunity. And one of the men said, I didn't marry my wife for her boobs. I married her because I loved her and I just wanted her back. And I got her back when she took her breast implants out. And I thought that was the most beautiful statement of a husband supporting his wife. He was like, I didn't marry her for her boobs. I mean, they're nice, but I married her for her, and I got my wife back when she had her implants out. So I'd much rather have her, I thought it was beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of men actually don't like the feel of breast implants, when they're rock hard and they never feel like natural breasts. They go, no, they're going to feel real. That's what the doctors tell you, but they never feel real, not for a second. And even when you hug somebody, like my mom used to
you can feel it.
It's like, stop pushing those baseballs at me, because it felt like rocks, and it was really uncomfortable, even hugging someone, because right away they would know that you have breast implants.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. Mm-hmm.
So you're much better, and you're like, it was the best decision of your life to get them out.
It was. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a psychological, thing. I felt lopsided, and, I had to get used to my body again.
Did you have a lift or any? Did you have a lift after removal?
Yeah, so I did have a lift because I had a lot of droopage and stuff like that, and that was the whole reason I got the implants in the first place. And 25 years old, I had droopage, right? So it's like, yeah, please bring the nipples back up, So I did have that done, but I still had to, it was a great opportunity to explore body acceptance, like self body accept. I don't know if that's a word. I'm just trying to say it,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
learn to be okay in your body, and not think your body is what makes you who you are. You know, you're truly the most critical of your body than anybody else.
Mm.
I don't stare at people and go, man, oh, they shouldn't have they got some lumps down there and they could really smooth that. I don't do that. So why do I think other people do that to me? You know,
We
like,
do it. We do it to ourselves.
yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're on Instagram and you're shaking your booty all half naked, I might go, don't do that. You know?
Hide that
But
thing away.
that's a little different.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
every
totally get
day, you know, I
Yeah, I
don't sit
totally
there and
get you. Yeah, I mean,
judge women.
it's amazing because if we knew in our 20s what we know now, like it's just so amazing how things change and how as you get older you realize what is really important and it's not
Hmm.
tied to like the size of your breasts or you know what I mean? It has nothing to do with those things.
Oh, yeah.
Finally like feel comfortable in your skin and feel good about yourself
Oh,
and
yeah.
you look back at your 20s it's like my God I had it all going on but you never
I was
appreciated it like
Yeah, I was like a size 6, and now I'm like trying to be a size 10. You know, what was my problem back then? I thought I was fat. Like,
crazy how
yeah.
if we knew then what we know now it's
Oh, yeah.
crazy. So I'm going to share with you guys a bit of my story as well which is also a little bit crazy. So I got my first set of breast implants when I was 21. I cashed in my retirement savings plan so I can do it.
Wow.
And I went to the doctor's office. They did it under local anesthetic. I was wide awake the whole time. They,
Wow.
it was just a doctor, no nurse, and his secretary. And they were trying to hold me down on the table, and I'm trying to crawl off the table, and I'm screaming. And because there was nobody to administer anesthetics or anything like that.
I can't get
And
over
they're
that.
just
This
squeezing, like
was
I
like
could
a
feel, see
shop of horrors.
I know, and it gets worse. So
I just
this
can't
was
get
my
over that.
first, my silicone implants, and they went rock hard. You saw this capsular contraction, the capsule that we were talking about. It went hard, and it just squeezes your implants, and it was like a rock. So what I had to do, like every month or every couple of months, is go back to my surgeon, and he would pop them. So he would literally, this is what they did in the 90s. This was 91, 92.
Wow.
So what they did was they would
Wow.
squeeze it until they would pop it and they would
Oh,
pop the capsule. So
did
this,
that hurt?
of course, can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's like a mammogram for hands, right? It was horrible. So we were doing that over and over and over again. It was terrible. I did get pregnant. I nursed my son, God bless him, for almost 2 years. And then after when I finished, I already had the breast implants in for about 8, 9 years, and I knew they're only supposed to last for 10 years. And so we were living in Florida. I found someone to do the breast implants, and even back then they were very expensive. It was like $8,000. And as I told you in our live, I actually found a dentist who was doing breast implants because yeah, back then dentists can do plastic surgery. I don't know what's
I
going on in the US
can't
now, but that was
believe
normal.
that.
So I
That is
went to this
insane.
guy, and he made me have a mammogram before, my first and only and last mammogram of my life. And then when I went into surgery, he found that one of the implants was ruptured, like
Mm.
twice, but the silicone has migrated all over my body. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
praying that it got ruptured during the mammogram, when they squeeze the living daylights out of your breast.
Yeah. But
And
I don't
not
know, man. You
what
were
I
like
was,
going in and having it manually done all
yeah,
the time. So,
yeah, it could have happened then. I really hope it was the mammogram because, I breastfed my son for so long and I really hope that he wasn't getting all this in his
hmm.
body. So I was on the table, again, under local anesthetic for 12 hours. 12 hours. While my husband's driving around with my little boy, waiting for me, thinking I'm going to die. They don't know what's going on with me. 12 hours until he was trying to get all the silicone that was like just migrated all over my body.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and then he took a saline implant, he put it in, he put it behind the muscle. So that was the big improvement. It's saline implant, safe, goes behind the muscle. And I mean, I had all kinds of issues, even in my 20s, already joint pain, tiredness, hair falling out, like
Wow.
a lot of the things that you said, the brain
Yeah.
fog, just not feeling myself. I was just really anxious. There was like a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I always knew, I said, I need to get these out. And I was waiting for something new to come out. And they came out with like jelly bean implants, soy implants. There was everything, but
Yeah.
nothing really felt right. And then in 2011, we started hearing about stem cells and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Using stem cells, they can use your fat instead of, the implants. So I started looking for a surgeon who can do it for me. We were living in Switzerland. I went to Italy. I went to different countries, did different consultations. Everybody wanted to take out the implant, leave you like that for 6 months, and then do the fat transfer. And
Hmm.
fat transfer stuff, everything was brand new then. And I did, well, what am I going to do for 6 months, with like
Hmm.
breasts? And I found a surgeon in Switzerland, and he says, I will do it for you in one go. I'll take it out and I'll put the fat in. So,
Hmm.
okay, yes, let's do it. And I mean, crazy expensive. If you
Hmm.
think about how much I've spent on my breast, it just makes me insane. Crazy expensive. But he did do it in one sit, in one surgery. He took out the silicone bags. Sandy, they were black, not silicone, sorry, saline bags. They
Wow.
were black with mold. I had
Oh
them,
my
I have
gosh.
them, I have them somewhere still.
I
Black.
believe you.
I wish I had it here so I could show it to you guys. But I mean,
I
if you
believe you.
search online, you can see this, black. So can you imagine I've got black mold in my body? Like,
That's insane. I believe you. That's the thing. People are like, but I have saline. I'm like, well, even worse.
yeah,
I'm not sure what's better.
no.
You
And
know?
this on block thing wasn't even a thing then. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure he didn't take the capsules. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're still there, which I
yeah, yeah,
want to go through another surgery. I'm just hoping my body and healthy lifestyle dealt with that. So
yeah.
we did the fat transfer. You had to like take a little bit of fat from everywhere. It was really new procedure back then. And I got a little bit, it wasn't a lot. And then I had to go back like 6 months later where it took a little bit more. And then I was so happy. I didn't need a lift. Somehow my breast just filled in, even after all that breastfeeding and everything.
Amazing.
I didn't need a
Wow.
lift. I got away without the lift, which was mind blowing to me that
Yeah,
my breasts were able, my skin was still good. I was able to recover
yeah,
from
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
Wow.
and the most amazing thing was that my husband was so happy. Even when I had the little ones, with the first fat
Yeah.
transfer, he was like, "Oh my God, they move!" And like he was like a kid in a candy
Oh.
store because after having this for 20 something years, and now they jiggle, they move, it was like a
He-
completely different experience.
He's like so much better.
He was thrilled.
Yeah.
He's like, I will take small boobs that move, that feel natural over big giant rocks any day. I think a lot of
Wow.
people feel that way. So
Yeah, I
that's
believe
that's
that's
my
true.
crazy breast implant story.
That is a wild internationally acclaimed story. I guess
And
you
it
went
still doesn't
everywhere.
scare people off. I mean, it should. This should scare everybody off getting them. But
Hmm.
any young girl or woman I've talked to, and I said, "Don't do it. This is what happened to me," and they still go and do it.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's this like we don't even get full informed consent. I mean, like I certainly didn't. I didn't know that 60% of implants rupture it doesn't matter if it's saline, silicone, doesn't matter the brand, across all brands, 60% rupture within 5 years.
Wow.
60%. That's a big deal. That's more than half.
That's crazy.
And initially, the FDA wanted to make the recommendation that at the 5 year mark, you're supposed to get a breast integrity MRI scan. That's new. That's new data.
Yeah.
But they had so much pushback from the College of Plastic Surgeons, I think, that they kind of conceded to doing at 6 years. At 6 years, the recommendation is, so if people don't know this, if you have breast implants, at 6 years, you're supposed to get a breast integrity MRI to make sure that your breast implants are intact. And no, that's not covered by insurance. Yes, that's out of pocket. It's about $1,000. And then you got to get a specialty person to read that because they don't always do it. But that's what the FDA recommends. Did you get told that if you like
Never.
nobody gets told that, but that's actually, just Google it, it's there. And I didn't know any of that, and I didn't even know that my breast implants needed to be replaced. I thought they were a lifetime thing. Like I didn't know, and here
They
I
don't tell
was.
you that you're gonna have to come back and do this over and over and over
I wouldn't
again.
have done that if I'd known that. Yeah, so then I'm like in the operating room doing anesthesia for a plastic surgery case. I think it was a butt lift. I think when I was, I remember where I was
Uh,
with the surgeon, and he's talking about we were having the conversation in the OR about the implants and the lifetime of the implants, and he's like, yeah, I mean, you got to get them replaced every 10 years, and here I was with my implants at 14, 15 years at this point. He's like, yeah, all the implants need to be replaced at least at 10 years, probably before. I usually look at it around 7 or 8, and I was like, come again? What did you just say? I had no idea. That was the first I heard it, and that was because I happened to be in the operating room with a plastic surgeon talking about it. My plastic surgeon sure didn't tell me that. Now would it have changed anything if I had my mind set on getting breast implants? Probably not. I
and
mean,
you're 10 years seems like, oh my God, that's forever, right?
when you're 20,
10 years,
30 is old.
you know, who cares what's going to happen when I'm 40? Like, you just don't think about those things.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
you realize how fast time goes, and then
Yeah,
surgery. And then, we talked about anesthesia and what it does to your health, what it does to your brain in our last episode.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, and then you're putting yourself through plastic surgery over and over and over again and putting your
Mm-hmm.
health at risk and your life at
Mm-hmm.
risk for big.
100%.
It's
For
insane.
big boobs. Yeah, I know. It's not benign. Surgery is not benign. And cosmetic surgery gets its own special mention in my book because I feel like people and this is not, again, not a judgment. I'm not opposed to cosmetic surgery if that helps you with your mental health and you feel better in your body and but what I typically see in that population gets plastic surgery is not usually a person who gets one plastic surgery procedure. They usually get multiple, which means multiple surgeries, which means multiple stressor. I call anesthesia and surgery like the physiologic stress test, right? We check the heart before surgery to see if it can handle the stress of surgery if you have high risk because we know it can stress the heart,
Yeah.
but we don't check the brain, and the brain is I would say arguably the most stressed organ under surgery and anesthesia. You're putting the brain to sleep. We're creating an inflammatory process in the body while the brain is receiving a chemical stressor. So we don't check that. And if you get surgery over and over, you're putting yourself through a chemical stress test
Yeah.
multiple times. There's going to be at some point a tipping point where whether it's from the exposure or from the lack of recovery that your body has through multiple surgery, where the tipping point is reached, right? And the body no longer has that brain resilience and you end up with some kind of brain issue, whether it's emotional. Sometimes people struggle with chronic blues after surgery. Like that's a real thing. I was talking about as a study I came across. I was really trying to put my hand on it recently. I don't know where it went, but I didn't daydream it. It was a real study, and
Yeah.
it was like I came to work after reading it. I said, "Did you know that for a month after surgery," it says to my colleagues, that patients can have like clinical depression? They're like, "No, I know." I'm like, it was in our journal. It was in our anesthesia journal." And they were like, "Oh, no, it isn't." Like, it's
I
not.
mean, that's important. People should be prepared for that.
So I tend to warn my patients when I see them if they're on an antidepressant. I'm like, "Hey, how is your depression well managed? Like, you're doing okay?" Like, and then just kind of give them fair warning. Like, okay, so anesthesia can kind of trip you up chemically and kind of make you feel really kind of sad and bluesy for a while. That's not. You do not need to up your serotonin receptor antagonist or whatever. You don't need to increase your SSRI. You need to just recognize that this is a temporary thing from the anesthetic. But so there's all these chemical stressors that, as a result of the surgery and the anesthesia, that can accumulate and really help make your body hit a tipping point. So, cosmetic surgery is just one of those. It gets a special mention because we tend to get more like we get this one little thing and then we'll do a little facelift and and then
So you
do a little
start,
this, do a little that,
even when I had when I got my breast implants, the first one, and then I went back home and I'm like, this nose, it's got to go, right? So I went back to the same
it's
butcher, right,
addictive.
surgeon, and I said, what can we do about my nose? And, of course, he drew the nose. There were no computers back then in the dinosaur age. And, and we talked about my nose, but I never ended up doing it. I didn't have any more money. I probably would have otherwise.
Praise
But then
God.
when the next time I went back for my breast popping, he looks at my nose and he's like, "Oh, it looks really good. It healed really nice." And I said, "You didn't do my nose." And I realized maybe it's not so bad. I'll just leave it alone.
Oh, yeah. That was really serendipitous that he said that. Thank you for saying my nose looks good.
We're gonna do a nose thingy, and he looks at his nose. "Oh, nose, yeah, looks good. Let's pop
Oh,
that too."
wow. Wow. That's
Tell me,
just
after
wild.
the breast implants out, did you do any cleanses or any kind of detoxes or anything to get the residue out of your system?
Yeah, I worked through I was very aggressive with doing some lymphatic drainage massage early because I knew that the silicone was scattered across my lymphatics. So I did a lot of that. I did aggressive gut support work because here, once you start driving the lymphatics, you're driving them where? Into the gut. So I did a ton of liver support because you can imagine how stressed the liver is after processing silicone floating through your bloodstream, right? So I was very aggressive with liver support, not driving aggressive drainage. I'm just supporting it, like really intentionally supporting the liver, really working on persist. I mean, it took me 6 months of really like intentional gut work to really calm everything down so that I could actually do anything more aggressive. I didn't even jump straight into the sauna yet because I wanted to calm the inflammation in my body. There was so much, I was puffy everywhere. Like there was so much inflammation and it didn't take a rocket scientist and I didn't need a HSCRP to know that I had a lot of inflammation. My joints hurt, my hands were swollen. You know what I mean? So I just took time to really do supportive work in the gut, support with the liver, and then about 8 weeks out, or 6 weeks out, I guess, when I got the green light, I started doing lymphatic drainage massage. And I continued that every 3 months or so with different types of lymphatic drainage, so the wand and sometimes the mechanical, and just kept driving the lymphatics because that's where all that silicone is stored. So,
Yeah.
so it's
Do
been a
you,
cyclical
do you think
process.
our bodies can actually process it and eliminate the silicone, or are we on some level stuck with it forever?
I think what they've shown in studies, like it's a more of a theoretical question because we don't have very much in the way of research on that, but we do have research that shows post implant 5 years out, in cadavers, they still see silicone in the lymphatics and in the gut.
5 years.
So it's impressive. So, but how that's what they see in cadavers, but what was that person doing? Was that person doing lymphatic drainage? Were they doing sauna? Were they doing support work? We don't have that variable narrowed down, so we don't really know. But I think the best way to measure that, you can keep track of inflammatory markers. I think that those tell you everything. You can see a lot with an ESR and a HSCRP, and just an occasional gut zoomer or gut, GI map or something like that to see where your gut is at. I did that about a year out after my implants and checked my gut. And I still had some immune work to do. My immune system was suppressed in my gut. Like I wasn't releasing any of that secretory IgA that you need to release to have a healthy gut response. I was low on that. I needed colostrum to support it because, quite frankly, it's a little bit immune suppressing to have a foreign body in your body.
Yeah, just a little
So,
bit.
yeah, your
And
body,
you know what's crazy? Like when I got my first set, the silicone implants, a couple of years later, I don't know if you remember this, but silicone implants got banned completely worldwide.
yeah, I remember that.
Absolutely banned. They could only do saline implants, and there was like this huge class action suit worldwide against DuPont, or I don't know, all of those big chemical companies. I mean, just think about those chemical companies are making your breast implants, right?
Oh, you gotta say right there.
I was part of it, and they disappeared off the market for a while, and then they brought them back. Like,
Yeah, I know.
after all of
I know.
those things, and thousands of women or millions of women getting sick, class action suit, all these millions, billions paid out, and they'll go, well, we'll just bring them back. So I
Yeah.
just really wonder, like, if they were sticking these toxic bags into men Would this have been studied maybe a little bit sooner? And I don't
It's
know.
a good question.
And
It's a
it's
good
still going
question.
on, and then people are still doing it, and no one's questioning it.
Yeah.
It blows
It's
my
very,
mind that
it's frustrating to say the least.
it really is.
Yeah, it is frustrating, and I think maybe there's a little bit of I think there's some shame associated with it. Like when talking about your breasts, first of all, it's not like I announced I had breast implants. You know, it probably was obvious to everybody, but I didn't like go, hey, I got my breast implant. You know,
Yeah.
so we're kind of a little bit like private about it, and then when we realize they may have been harmful, then we feel guilty that we didn't know, and so there's like this weird shame
Yes.
paradigm around this, and that's why I wanted to start off saying, look, don't feel judged. This is not we're not making you, we're not here to tell you how bad you are for getting breast
Oh,
implants.
definitely not.
There's definitely psychology around it. I mean, I did not love my body. I came from trauma. I had a horrible body image when I was younger and got breast implants, and no amount of somebody telling me how beautiful I was going to convince me otherwise. Like, you know, I was like a size 2 and 5'8", you know, like, you know, but you know, you can't convince people. They have to walk that journey and learn self awareness, work through trauma, work through all the things that lead to bad body image. And if breast implants for a time, you know, gives them some confidence, that's not a bad thing. It's just that we want people to have you know,
Get your
full
confidence from somewhere else, not
I'd prefer, of course, I'd prefer you to like really work, do the deep work, do the trauma work, do the self exploration work. That what drives you? Why do you hate your body so much? What is it that you want? You know, what are you expecting? Why are you in this comparison trap? You know what I mean?
Oh, it's
do
true.
do that work. But if breast implants temporarily relieve that suffering enough that you can be in the place where you need to be at that moment, that's not, I'm not judging you.
Oh, we can't be judging because we're in the same boat. And you're right, you know, about the shame. And also, like, I thought so much about this before I spoke out about it. Like, I did videos and I'm open about this whole thing. But, you know, I was like, well, I can't talk about my breast implant thing. I mean, my page is all about, you know, natural aging and all this stuff. There's nothing natural with shoving silicone in your body. But, you know,
Yeah,
you also, we also need women like us to come out and
we
own
need to
what
be real.
and
We need
be
to be
real
real.
and
If
be
we say,
passionate, you know.
if you're over there with your page about natural health, and you make yourself look like you've done everything right your whole life, that is just not attainable for anyone. Like, I have not done everything right. And
Yeah,
there's a
me
reason
neither.
that I'm about natural health, because I haven't done it right. And now I realize, oh my goodness, how much I need to stay focused on natural support and and advocate for my health and support my body instead of band-aiding it all the time with medications. That's because it comes from me having screwed it up and put my first child on Vyvanse at the age of 4 and Prozac at the age of 8, right? I mean, you know, I messed up good. Like, you know, if we were judging me from the lens of what I know now, judging me from at 20, I'd be like, what is wrong with you? Why are you X, Y, and Z? Why you go to the pediatrician every 3 months and get those shots? Why do you take an antibiotic every 6 months for that poor kid? And why is he on Vyvanse at 4? Do you know what I mean? Like, I could be really harsh, judge and critical of myself at 22, but I didn't know anything. I had a medical degree and that's it, you
Yeah.
know. So we got to be really honest with our journey. The reason we're so passionate is because of our failure, right? I mean, that's at least true for me. I assume it's
Yeah.
true for you.
Oh, it's a very good point. So, Dr. Sandy, what would you say to someone who is, first of all, thinking about getting breast implants, or someone who is perhaps watching this and they've had breast implants for a long time and now they're a little bit worried about what to do, or they're on the fence about it, getting them removed? What would be your advice to them?
Well, it's definitely a personal choice. So I am all about your self advocacy, and if you're aware now and you're concerned that they may be causing a problem, you know, I think that you should listen to that instinct, because you're probably right. I mean, there are studies that show that there's a cancer specifically linked to the implants, and nothing else. Is a cancer that you only get if you have had breast implants. So, you know, that's a real thing to be concerned about if we're all in this state of supporting the American Cancer Society with donations and pink ribbons all the time. We probably should be advocating for our health when it comes to things that we know contribute to a type of breast cancer. But I would say, do the hard work of getting to a place where you accept your imperfections, the imperfect decisions you've made, the trauma you've experienced. Do that work while considering getting your implants out. And if you don't want to get them out, that's okay too. But I would say in that case, make sure you're being wise and a good advocate for your own health, because ultimately you're the one who lives with the consequences of your own health choices. And so you should really be the CEO of your health. And to be that, you have to have all the knowledge. A CEO doesn't run a company by not looking at the ledgers. They know what's going on in accounting and in manufacturing, and they pay attention, right? If you're going to be CEO of your own health, then you need to know what's up, what's real, and what's your risk profile. If you had your breast implants for more than 5 years, you need to get a breast integrity MRI and get that checked out and make sure you're not sitting there with a ruptured implant, which increases your risk, right? And I would say if you're wanting to keep your implants, that you should absolutely be doing all the support mechanisms to support a body that's being impacted from those breast implants. Silicone really alters methylation. So people talk all the time about MTHFR, and I have that MTHFR mutation, yada yada. But reality is methylation, the genes that we have in methylation can be epigenetically altered, and one of the things that does that is silicone breast implants. Another thing is mold. So you've got mold in your breast implants. Another thing is aging and perimenopause. So you're in 40 years old with a breast implant. So now you got a double whammy. You got implants that potentially are impacting your methylation genes, and you're hitting menopause. So they're naturally declining. The methylation gene function is naturally declining because we need estrogen to drive all that. So you need to be just eyes wide open and supporting methylation more aggressively, and taking steps to advocate for yourself. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with you completely. And Dr. Sande, tell us about your new book.
Oh, yeah. So I'm very excited because the book, it comes as a framework to support, what I'm really trying to create in the anesthesia space, which is more talk and support around brain health protection in the time where we go under the hardest stress test of our neurological lives, which is surgery and anesthesia. So really the book gives us the framework of identifying what your risks are and how to navigate those risks around anesthesia with very specific actionable things. Identifying your specific risk profiles, addressing physiological stressors in your life when it comes to food, air, water, toxins in your own health, maybe issues you've got with methylation, and then how to prepare resilience for that experience. So there's a whole chapter on diet and lifestyle and nutrition. There's preparation around specific preparation steps with supplements around before, during, and after surgery, and more. It's a very comprehensive book. I wrote it and when I told my publisher editor, I was like, I really want this to be the what to expect when you're expecting.
Oh yeah,
for anesthesia,
that would have been a good title too. What to expect when you're going under.
What to expect when you're expecting anesthesia. Yeah, and that's what I really wanted it to be, that kind of a handbook for people around anesthesia, because everybody knows it's stressful and everybody's worried. I mean, 9 out of 10 times a patient comes to me, they're like, I'm not really worried about surgery, but I'm worried about anesthesia, because it's an unknown. You're completely vulnerable under anesthesia, and they're scared about that. They have a right to be, because they have no way to conceptualize what's happening, except for movies, which makes it worse, that makes it even worse. But so I just really wanted to, I don't go into detail about anesthesia, except for as how it relates to your health and how the things that you can advocate for. While we say we could advocate, while people often want to say, well, what can I ask the anesthesiologist for? I actually point people in a different direction. I'm like, that's actually the wrong question, because the question is, how resilient is your brain, and what can you do before, during, and after to protect that resilience and maintain your health? Because what we do in this period right here, it's critical care medicine. It's maintaining your health and your life while you're under a stressful event. And you want your doctor to have all the tools they need to do that. no matter what, even if it is the most toxic tool, including fluoridated gas. Okay. So you want them to have what they need to do the right thing for you while you're asleep. And you can be empowered to protect yourself regardless of what's given to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so part of that biggest picture, though, the book launches in April. It's in pre-sale right now on Kindle. It's Breakthrough Anesthesia Fog. Protect your brain and recover faster from surgery. But the biggest thing is that it's a tool to guide alongside what I'm really trying to create, which is an assessment so you know where your neuroresilience lives. We're trying to create an indexing system where you can actually test for that before surgery, so you can get your stress test values like a cardiac stress test before you actually stress the body and the brain. And so that will be launching kind of for free here soon in the next few weeks, before the book even launches.
Out, it will be available on your website and your social media, right?
That's right.
And you're the first person to do anything like this. I've never heard of anything like this.
Creating a total infrastructure around, understanding your neuroresilience index, based on really, really important factors that are specific to the stress of surgery. So we're looking at everything from your methylation and hormone status to your, collagen status to the type of medications you use, and things like that. So it's a very specific tool.
We're really looking forward to that. And then on Instagram, they can find you on Beyond Brain Health, right? That's your handle, and your website is the same, right?
BeyondBrainHealth.com.
BeyondBrainHealth.com. We'll make sure to link everything below. Dr. Sande, thank you so much for an amazing conversation. I always love having you on.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoy talking all things health and brain health anytime.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure we'll have you back. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with someone that you think would find it helpful. Thank you guys. Take care.